All right, this is page 144, Friday, 28 January 1944. Dear Kitty, I asked myself this morning whether you don't sometimes feel rather like a cow who has had to chew over all the old pieces of news again and again, and who finally yawns loudly and silently, wishes that Anne would occasionally dig up something new. Alas, I know it's dull for you, but try to put yourself in my place. And imagine how sick I am of the old cows who keep having to be pulled out of the ditch again. If the conversation at mealtimes isn't over politics or a delicious meal, then Mummy or Mrs. Van Daan trot out one of the old stories of their youth, which we've heard so many times before. Or Dussel twaddles on about his wife's extensive wardrobe, beautiful racehorses, leaking rowboats, boys who can swim at the age of 4, muscular pains, and nervous patients. What it all boils down to is this: that if one of the 8 of us opens his mouth, the other 7 can finish the story for him. We all know the point of every joke from the start, and the storyteller is alone in laughing at his witticisms. That's a good vocab word. The various milkmen, grocers, the butchers of the 2 ex-wives have already grown beards in our minds, so often that they have been praised to the skies or pulled to pieces. It is impossible for anything in the conversation here to be fresh or new. So they've talked about everything they can talk about. They know all the stories about all of them, even the grown-ups. She jokes that if one of them starts a story, anybody else in the house can finish it for him. Still, all this would be bearable if the grown-ups didn't have their little way of telling the stories, with which Coupuis, Hank, or Miep obliged the company 10 times over in adding their own little frills and furbelows, so that I often have to pinch my arm under the table to prevent myself from putting them right. Little children such as Anne must never, under any circumstances, know better than the grown-ups, however many blunders they make, and to whatever extent they allow their imaginations to run away with them. One favorite subject of Coupuis and Hank's is that people in hiding and in the underground movement. They know very well that anything to do with other people in hiding interests us tremendously, and how deeply we can sympathize with the sufferings of people who get taken away and rejoice with the liberated prisoner. So they know that they're not the only ones in hiding. They know that there are Jews hiding in parts of Europe and even in Amsterdam. Now, they have no communication with them, but they know that they're not the only ones. So it's exciting to hear stories of other Jews that will hopefully be safe after the war. We are quite used to the idea of going into hiding, or underground, as in bygone days. That's another good vocab word. One was used to let me go back to this paragraph. We are quite used to the idea of going into hiding or underground, as in bygone days, one was used to Daddy's bedroom slippers warming in front of the fire. There are a great number of organizations, such as the Free Netherlands, which forge identity cards. Oh, there's our vocab word, which we'll get to. Supply money to people underground, finding hiding places for people, and work for young men in hiding. And it is amazing how much noble, unselfish work these people are doing, risking their own lives to help and save others. Our helpers are a very good example. They have pulled us through up till now, and we hope that they will bring us safely to dry land. Otherwise, they will have to share in the same fate as many others who are being searched for. So they know that Miep and Mr. Coupuis and Mr. Crawler are really putting their lives on the line. They're risking their own lives to help. Never have we heard one word of the burden, which we certainly must be to them. Never has one of them complained of all the trouble we give. That's a great compliment, because they have to run out and get food and clothing for the Franks and the Van Daans and Mr. Dussel, even the Nazi book that Mr. Dussel was interested in, all of the demands of Mrs. Van Daan, and they never complain. They're serving. They just have a servant's heart for these people. They all come upstairs every day, talk to the men about business and politics, to the women about food and wartime difficulties, and about newspapers and books with the children. They put on the brightest possible faces, bring flowers and presents for birthdays and bank holidays, are always ready to help and do all they can. That is something we must never forget. Although others may show heroism in war or against the Germans, our helpers, I love this, our helpers display heroism in their cheerfulness and affection. They are really keeping up their spirits. They could just hide them, they could just bring food, but they interact with them, they talk with them, and they celebrate with them. The wildest tales are going around, but still, they are unusually founded on fact. For instance, Kufwis told us this week that in Geraldland, 2 football 11s met, and one side consisted solely of members of the underground, and the other was made up of members of the police. New ration books are being handed out in Hilversum in order that the many people in hiding may also draw rations. The officials have given instructions to those of them in the district to come at a certain time so they can collect their documents from a separate little table. Still, they'll have to be careful that such impudent tricks do not reach the ears of the German. Yours, Anne. So there are wild tales going around that some people in hiding are coming out, going outside, and there are certain tricky ways for them to get more ration coupons, but she's not sure if they're true. All right, the next page we'll be on is 147.